Hello, everyone. So great to see you. I'm loving the enthusiasm and talk about lightning networking, right? Real quick. So good. Yes, so like Brandon shared, I am presenting Crafting Stories That Connect Y'all. I'm a big believer that story is the key to impact in your marketing. So we're going to dive into story and we're going to have lots of fun. Are you excited?
Yes.
Yay! Okay, cool. And you have to hit down on this, and I'm going to remember that. Okay, first off, welcome and hello. I am Katelyn Calhoun, but who the heck is Katelyn Calhoun? Most of you don't know me. I am a Ball State grad, chirp, chirp, originally from, I know, right, so do you want to, I almost forgot, it's like, chirp, chirp, moving on. Right, so I'm from the suburbs of Cleveland, have been interested in story since I was probably able to talk, and then interested in video since my teen years when I was able to insert a editing chip into my parents' computer, and then we were off to the races. So filmmaker and storyteller for most of my life, have a strong commercial editing background, so lots of documentary style, collecting what we have and making a story out of the bits and pieces that are presented to me. From Ball State, graduated 2013, headed down to Indianapolis, long drive, and stayed there for about 10 years until early 2024. My partner and I, we sold our house, bought a boat, and live on our boat in the summer, and then kind of pick a random location in the Midwest in the wintertime. And that's only one cycle at this point, right? So who knows where we'll go from there. But eventually we're gonna be doing some fun boat travels. And then, you know, as we talked about, founder of Calhoun Creative Consulting, which is a strategic storytelling firm. We've got, you know, lots of content coming at us all the time. So how do we make sure that we really hit home with our content? And I think story is at the key of that. So next, oh, I hit the like button. There's another one on the thing. Okay, those are my feet. Let's kick off your 2025 marketing. So a few things. By the end of this session, you're going to have some tools to streamline your storytelling foundation. So it's something that you'll be able to revisit over time. This is very cyclical. You're always changing. Your organization's always changing. You may change jobs, right? It's something that we can kind of rinse and repeat. I would add more confidence planning your 2025 marketing strategy. You may have confidence already. You may not have no confidence. I don't think confidence is a binary thing. It's definitely a spectrum. So hopefully you'll walk out of that door, unless you go to the bathroom in the middle of the session. You'll walk out of that door with more confidence planning your marketing. And then before we leave, I want everybody to have a clear next step. It can be super small. It could be like, I'm gonna take a picture of a flower today that I'm eventually gonna use to write some beautiful metaphor about growing into this new season of life for my social media strategy, right? It can be super small, but heads up, we will be sharing this with everybody at the end. And I cannot wait. Okay, before we begin, let's get a little grounded. The big thing I wanna do is everybody take some time in your head. I want to decide what we're focusing on today. There's a lot of different things you can tell stories about. This can be, maybe you've got a marketing client that you want to really focus on this year. They're one of your flagship clients and you want to make sure that their story is really clear. Your personal brand, maybe you're an entrepreneur, you've got business brand things. Maybe you just want to have fun today and we're going to talk about your dog and or cat. I don't know what kind of person you are. You want to focus on their Instagram account. There are just so many things you can actually tell stories about. But for our purposes today, let's focus on one. And I'm going to say for the rest of our session, I'll kind of be speaking towards the personal branding side of things, just for the sake of me staying on one thing, right? But as we interact, I'm more than down to brainstorm whatever you have decided on, right? Let's leave here with some fun action items / ideas percolating. Okay. I love an agenda. That is my 2017 agenda. Baby Katelyn had lots of paper agendas. I'm now a digital person, but let's talk about what today's agenda is. So we're going to talk about the collect, compile, connect framework, which is how I like to approach storytelling. We're going to double click into the collect stage, which is the first one. And then we'll dive into your marketing calendar. Feel good? Mm-hmm. Yay, we did it. Okay, 2 quick questions. By show of hands, does anyone utilize storytelling in their current marketing efforts? Yay. Okay. Now, does anyone want to share an example with me of how they utilize storytelling in their current marketing efforts? Yes, friend.
So I sell real estate, but I am also a mom. I'm also a wife. So I incorporate a lot of here's my kid on her iPad while I'm showing a house and she's sitting in the corner. Here's just that it's okay to have a real life and your business. Yeah. So then my clients know it's okay to also have a real life while we're doing this. Their business, right? Or my business,
right? And why they pick you to help them buy houses is because they're like, oh look, you understand what it's like to have children running around this house, right? We're not out here with white carpets or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I would also say to that too, right? Testimonials are a great way to utilize storytelling, really in any business, but especially with that real estate dance. So, anyone else want to share? Jump in. Yes, Jill.
We have a few companies, and we use employee testimonials in our story because we want people to see that we're employee centric, and that's our culture. That's what we center our processes and technology. That's who we center them around.
I love that. And to speak to that, right? It's the idea of the collect, compile, connect framework. I'll show you kind of a diagram here in a second, but it is so cyclical because your employees will change over time. You will change over time. If you're telling a personal branding story or if you're telling a company story, things shift. You're not the same company as the day you were founded, right? You're not the same person as, when you packed up your car and headed to Indianapolis from Ball State kind of thing. So lots of fun. I want to make sure I give room. Does anybody else chomping at the bit? Okay, cool. Okay, the power of storytelling. What is storytelling? So as I define it, the storytelling is the art of sharing narratives that connects us to ourselves and others by evoking emotions and fostering understanding. I think at the heart of all this, in particularly my approach to storytelling, is really bringing out feelings. I love Maya Angelou's quote, people forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And the same is in storytelling. You can say something like, John ate a sandwich. Or you can be like, John never saw such a delicious sandwich in his life. And it was dripping and he was salivating. And then as he took a bite, all the bacon fell out and he was sad, and you're just taking everybody on a journey. So you're going to remember not this this happened to this person, but rather what was that person feeling, what was going on, things like that. It just makes it a little bit more fun. So something about story is it conveys experiences, like John's experience with that sandwich, gosh darn. It creates connections in the sense of when you're telling a story about something you experienced and someone's like, oh yeah, me too. And then all of a sudden you've got that bond and that trust kind of starting to establish. And then it also inspires action. And I'll talk about this here in a few slides. Okay, why storytelling matters. I really, really like this. This was an accidental thing. I was doing a piece for Indiana Humanities in regards to the Preserving Women Legacy grant, which was a grant that went to small towns around the state to help them build some sort of placemaking piece in regards to women's history in the area. And this was in Angola. They built a Sojourner Truth statue in the center of their, it's like a circle, it's not really a square, I don't know if you've ever been there. Because at one point Sojourner Truth had come through to speak, and it was a very significant day in the city. And this woman's daughter just happened to tag along. We interviewed her, and it was just really cool to see generational impact. And so I really, really love that photo because that was a special moment for me in my career. But it matters, right? Because we're building trust, whether it be, me with the mother of this young girl, talking about experiences of being a woman in Indiana and what the history is here in Indiana. It engages audiences. I hope that some of you connected to the story that I just told you about this little kiddo. I'm sure you can feel the feelings I feel about it. And then finally, driving sales and loyalty. So this actually goes back to, can I go back? Is that a journey we can take? Yeah, we can. So going back to inspiring action, right? The A to B story arc. So I don't know how often you all live in the sales brain, but they talk often about getting your customer from A to B, right? And you are the solution. Whatever you're offering to them, whether you're like, I'm gonna help you get a house kind of thing. Currently they don't have a house, they want a house. As a realtor, you're getting them there. And so that's the A to B sales journey. In the same way, a story takes your character from A to B. So testimonial about Susie needed a house, we got Susie a house, it was a beautiful journey. You then kind of make that connection. Oh, I want to hire this person because I want to be Susie. I want to be sitting by my hearth, around Christmas time this coming year, and things like that. So love it. To underline all of that, I actually really, really loved Intersection had their stickers, and I saw you have a great story to tell, which I think is what I'm trying to drive home here. All of you have a perspective. All of your things that you're building, whether by yourself or with others, have a point of view. And those stories matter. And that is at the core base of everything I do with storytelling. And I think it really makes a great story and just makes a nice impact on the world. So, okay. We're about to get into some fun workshop work together. Are we excited? Woo woo! Woo! Okay, thank you everyone. What time is it? Great, 8:55. We're doing great. We're doing great on the enthusiasm. Okay, cool. So this is the cycle I was talking to you about. Let's talk about this actual framework: collect, compile, connect. Right? So collect. I like to call this kind of your past, present, future moment. It's the foundational work you do before you actually tell the story. It's all about where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And it's really a moment to take inventory and collect everything you got going on in this, in this snapshot of time. And it doesn't have to be clean. It's literally just a bunch of gathering. And we'll dive in. That's what we're really double clicking into today with the workshop. But it's messy. And you're never actually going to show anyone this stage of it. So don't worry about that. And then compile. That's where you take all the messy and you start molding it. You start creating something. You start putting it together. You could literally think of it like, a chunk of clay. You got all your clay together. Maybe you got extra little bits that fell off of the wheel or whatever. And well, here I'm sculpting and I'm making a pot. It's a journey, right? So you're getting it all together. And then this is where you start to take things away. You start to be like, oh, you know what? I would like to put something on top of this bus head, right? Like this sculpture needs a hat. So you want to add that back. And it's a creative process. I think it's considered what would be the lion's share of the work from an outside perspective, but it's not actually where you're going to have impact with your story. And I say that because the impact really comes from the connecting. Let's go back to this sculpture that we've just made that has a beautiful hat, right? If you make that and then you put it in your closet, nobody ever sees this beautiful bust of a thing that you've made. You spent all that time collecting, you spent all that time sculpting it, and now it's sitting in your closet and nobody can be like, oh my gosh, I love it so much. Let's start a sculpting club together, right? And you don't actually build community if you don't do that. So this part is so important. You must share your story with your people. Because you might put it out there and people are like, that's ugly. What are you doing? And that's not going to feel great, but they're not your people, right? So your story, your people, it's a playful interaction with your audience, and that's where community really is built. And then I just want to reiterate, and we'll talk about this again, it is a cycle. Because sure, we start with collect when we're like, cool, I'm ready to tell a new story or tell a story. And then we dive into compiling, we connect. And then by the time we do that, we're a whole new person because we've met a bunch of new people and we've done a bunch of things. We've eaten a bunch of sandwiches with our friend from earlier. And it's time to collect those experiences again and continue to mold our story over time. Okay, before we deep dive into collect, does anybody have any quick questions? You feel good? Okay, cool, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, so the collect phase. I tried not to use any stock photography, but why wouldn't I use this, you know? What's more serious than a little kitty in a button-up and a dog in glasses, you know? I just thought it was important to call that out. Cool, like I said, this is where we take inventory of our journey and we're gathering building blocks of our narrative. So that's capturing the essence through lots of, it's a bit of a hoarding stage. And it's both tangible and visual materials. And that can be your traditional thought of photos, video, graphics, what have you. But it's also testimonials, whether that be word of mouth or whether that be written word. Maybe moments that happened at an event, and things of that nature. Okay, now we're gonna really dive into the work together, and we're gonna do this kind of, when I get to this stage, we're gonna group into little small groups, so be ready to talk to people. We can do that. But okay, so this is an important stage because we're planning ahead. It's essential for effective storytelling. If you don't have stuff to work with and compile with, then what are we doing? We don't have anything to work with. It enables the capturing of meaningful moments that resonate with your audience. If you don't have anything to compile, to bring to them, then we just gotta get in that closet with our sculpture, right? For example, for my own purposes, my own marketing, I make sure to ask a friend to take photos of me speaking. I know that the folks at Intersessions are filming this. So like, I looked at my year and I was like, cool, I've got that speaking event on the 28th. I want to make sure I gather some materials for that. I want to make sure that I have intention around it. And so that's what we're really focusing on today is looking at our year and mapping out what do we need to collect in order to have the best year in relation to all this. Cool. Y'all have a little sheet in front of you. This is what I call my story inventory collection. And this is, most of the intention around this is just tickling your brain for ideas. This is not a check everything off on the list and you get an A+ in your marketing, right? This is a, when we go through it, maybe something will trigger an idea for you to be excited to tell a story about. So I'm going to walk us through that real quick. So take a look. So first thing on the list is mapping your journey. So think about the thing that we called out. So whether you're focusing on your personal brand or your dog's Instagram, kind of note, okay, when do you want to start this story kind of thing? When's the start date of this endeavor? I recently just shifted to a nomadic lifestyle and I've really been telling a lot of story around that. So I'm starting to like mold that story, even though I've got my 10 years in Indianapolis, my time at Ball State, and baby Katelyn in Little Medina, Ohio. So something to just take some time, list 3 to 5 significant milestones in your journey, and then you can jump into creating your timeline. So we're looking at key events in your history. We're maybe add the year, month, and a brief description for each of those events. And then your brand assets, right? If you don't have a mission statement, you don't have to have it be perfect. You can just write something real quick, like what is my mission? What is my life's work? Write down some values you may have. Like me, I believe that everybody's story matters, and I'm going to continue to do that until the day I die, I truly believe, because that's been with me forever. Ooh, that would really shake me if that were to be proved to be untrue. Okay, and then so you can also outline your main offerings. What do you offer to the world, whether that be laughter because your dog's wearing a funny hat on its Instagram today, or you just love interacting with humans. Assessing your visual materials. Maybe you've got some photos of you. Maybe your company has existing logos. Identifying brand colors, things like that. Actual story audit. Think about what you've already told people. Like what stories maybe already exist on your social. What do you tell people every time you go to coffee? Like what do you find yourself repeating? Identify any untold stories that are connected to your work or your passions. Visualize I like these ones towards the end. There's a lot of just creative play, visualizing your business. So maybe put on a timer, spend 2 minutes doodling imagery that comes up to mind based on your business or your endeavor. Think about your present, describe your present. What do you do in one sentence? Outline a typical day for you. And then think about your potential client, potential collaborators, defining your service, ways you serve people, your favorite way to serve people, and then, of course, past, present, future, looking towards the future. What's it looking like in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5? And then also why. Why do you do what you do? That's always a fun one to explore. So these are a bit of journaling prompts, things like that. I'm going to have you all take 5 to 10 minutes in a small group, brainstorm things like, does any of this pop out to you on a list? Is any of this exciting to you that you want to like, I do want to go home and doodle, or like, oh, I want to doodle right now, don't talk to me. And does any of this tickle ideas to ways to tell your story? And then we'll get back together at 9:10. Break. Okay, and I'll come around and talk to y'all about it. Okay, you guys go. I am an excellent eavesdropper, and it was really fun to like walk on by and listen to what y'all were talking about, and everybody was like on task, at least everyone that I eavesdropped to, which is very exciting because I'm like, oh, we are excited about story. It's just morning time. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go through just each group, if we can have someone volunteer, and just I've got questions, but if you just want to share some thoughts on what you shared with your group, what people discussed, I think when we get to your group, and if you are the one volunteering as tribute, go ahead and let us know what you're focusing on today. Like if you're focusing on your personal brand, if you've got like a client you're really excited to focus on their story, and share your little insights. So I'll start with this group on the left. This is I think our biggest group of the day, or maybe it's, matched with the group behind them, but go ahead.
So we were talking about, Chef Nef at Destination Muncie, it's our goal as leaders in tourism to tell the story of our community. And our community is lots of different things. So we thought this was a really cool tool because you could look at each different community in a different way using some different tools on this list. And then Inland Interiors up front was talking about how they have like 3 pieces of their business, and each piece is a little bit different. And some of these tools work great for one, other pieces might work great for others. So it's a great tool that you can kind of mold and really focus in on what you need to focus on to tell your story in different ways.
Totally. And to speak to that, right? You've got all the different like communities within your community that have their story, but then those make up this mosaic of a beautiful story too. I love making a documentary about a community or about some sort of like subject that doesn't have a voice, right? Mostly, animals and creatures that like don't have anything to say, but there's so many people that love that creature. And so how do we tell the story of that creature in relation to the community that loves it? Same thing with the city. Like how do we tell the story of a city that has so many people, it's super diverse, like has a university, has citizens that have lived here for most of their life or a transplant. There's so much to it. So I love that. That's a really cool thing. Cool. Group behind you. Was it group of 3 and then group of 2 or?
Group of 3 and 3.
3. Okay, cool. So right behind.
Okay, I'll go.
Thank you.
I'm Jennifer Chris. I work at Ball State University as a writer, but I also do some freelance as a writer. So I guess one of the things I want to focus on is there's so many stories to tell, like so many stories in my docket. I have to switch focus all the time and make sure I'm telling the right story to advance the client's goal, because sometimes I get in my own head and I see, oh, that's a really great backstory about you and your daughter. That doesn't sell barns, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, wait, pull it back.
Or you got to bring a bridge to be like, me and my daughter build barns together. Don't you want one? Kind of thing. Yeah. But you have to make that connection for sure.
Yeah. So I definitely have to outline the main offerings, the main goals, and like keep all those different stories straight.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this was something that Intersection asked leading up to the actual workshop, is there are so many places to focus, you could overcommit. And that's where our next activity will focus in on, let's just pick a few for the year that we really want to drive home kind of thing. So that'll be fun to do. But yes, that's why Collect is so messy, because there are so many things you can tell stories about. There are so many ways to tell stories. I mean, we have visual, like body language cues all the time, and that adds to the story as well. So Thank you for sharing. And then I'll jump to the group behind you.
So I was telling them about, I've tried to, recently, I follow this group and she's talking about your brand menu. So like 5 things that are you. And so, you know, for me, like Diet Coke is one thing that's on my brand menu. So not just posting a picture of Diet Coke, but a picture of Diet Coke with a caption, you know, in your Instagram story that says fueled up to show, you know, 6 houses and then go to basketball practice and then do all the other, you know, but basically telling the story behind. And then the more people see that, then, you know, like I also posted about nerd clusters because I have a problem and I can admit that. It's a safe space. But now it's gone to clients and friends sending me pictures every time the new flavor comes out. But it keeps you top of mind. And then is when you also weave in what you do for a living. Because then it's, oh, I saw nerd clusters at Target. Oh, at Target we were also buying towels. Our linen closet's too small. We need to move.
That's only 3 little small jobs. All at Target Trail. I love
Trail from nerd cluster.
And then you're like, hey,
it's a short journey.
I love that. Well, and I did when I was eavesdropping, I did overhear the Diet Coke thing, and I recently too posted about Diet Coke as a small little win because Mickey D's Diet Coke is known to be very special, and the internet freaked out at me in the best way possible. They love the, you know, my people love it, and they were so excited, and they know I also do what I do, and it was a beautiful thing. It was a very beautiful thing. There's one other thought I had in relation to that, but I love it. Thank you for sharing. I'm gonna jump over to the next group.
Us?
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, that's a great call. Cool. In the back.
First of all, I thought nerd clusters, when you started talking about that, was it like some sort of a group you joined? And I was like, I
It
want
could be.
Well, and actually, I want to.
It's what we call our support group. It should be, as you say.
Well, and then so just for one, that was the thought that I lost. The group, like this room's reaction when you said nerd clusters was like, wow, you know, and that's the energy, right? That's the feelings, like.
And then I remembered what nerd clusters really are. I'm like, I love those.
Yeah,
See?
yeah.
So for a hot minute, I wanted to be part of your group.
You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. So the 3 of us work at the same company. We all work for Accutech, and we have multiple brands that we market. So we just finished 2 weeks ago a video production that goes through a storyline of, I've been calling it Zero to Hero. Yes, I stole it from Hercules. Where it shows our perfect client in a scenario that you don't know if it's the 60s, 70s, or 80s, but it's sure old, you know, looking bank executive office, right? And it goes on to show how Cheetah, our trust software platform, helps transform you from this guy from the past into the future. We're the only software that has an app currently, you know, those kind of things. And so we just finished that. They're in post-production. And so I also had hired a photographer to take stills so we could be working through that. So this came real appropriate to us at this time because, you know, for instance, I'm like, okay, identify 8 key events in our history. Well, for this, we don't need that.
Yeah.
And so we kind of spent the first few minutes going, okay, how can we start tearing down the pieces that we know we don't need and start to go forward? So in the next probably week, the 3 of us will get together in a room with the still photographs and start writing some copy based on what we have, and then come back together with the film crew. They're also writing copy. So we're in that very big gathering, collecting phase that I think a lot of this we're gonna have to like mull over. Like we just got this far into it, but that's where we've started. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
I love that it's helpful. That makes me really excited. And I would say the example of your Zero to Hero, that's case in point with the A to B, right? You're literally like, you are 0. You want to be hero? Cheetah, you know, literally solution. And it's a story, right? It literally is like, just like, how did Hercules like become strong? Oh yeah, he was born into it, whatever. But that's the thing, right? But he wasn't, and he was, and then he discovered who he was, and that was like his heroic journey. And you know, we can be out here discovering Cheetah, and all of a sudden we can crush all our dreams and desires in life. It's
And we
great.
didn't want him to be the zero. The
Right.
zero is who is the company he is in
Oh,
that
copy that.
hasn't updated their.
Got it.
So
Got it.
he is.
So we're not
he's
not
a-
bashing him.
Yeah, no, he's like the
Yeah.
diamond in the rough.
That's much more loving. I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like the diamond in the rough, and his situation is, you know, the bank or whoever he works for, the trust company,
Yeah.
doesn't want to put money into technology. They don't want to update where they've been, and so all of those challenges of, hey, let us bring you into, you know, the latest century, but we've used that storytelling mechanism of, doesn't this look old? Like, it was the easiest thing to go, doesn't your company that you work for suck?
Right.
So,
Right. But it suck, and then why does it suck? Maybe because it's old, maybe because like you don't, you know, connect with your coworker. There's so many reasons, right? But in your story, it was like they're not up to date, and
Yeah.
here's your solution.
So
Yeah.
for instance, just really quickly, most of our competitors has a constant re-typing in of their clients' information on multiple pages,
Right.
like 4 or 5, we've heard 6, 7 times. And with Cheetah, you don't. You enter it once, you're done.
So you can like go live your life.
Yeah, so it's like those kind of things. It's like, don't you hate yourself for typing it in? And like it shows him going like, I'm having fun with this, you know. And so we talked through those situational things that are kind of bringing him down, and then our team shows up and ta-da, we're gonna make some things happen. And he gets a makeover, and yeah, so.
Great. And I love what you said, where like every time not all of these things on the checklist are going to apply to you. It's kind of more just to get your brain moving, to like, you can spend crazy tons of time on one, you could just do them all real quick, right? It's like, what's gonna serve you, that's where it's the best. I'm gonna go ahead for time's sake, move on to the next group.
So we all work for Meridian Health Services.
Nice, everybody's coming in their clusters, I love it.
And it's helpful.
It's good, it's a workshop for like mini workshops, yeah, it's great.
And we provide whole person health services, so physical, mental, social health. But recently, it feels like we just talk a lot about our services rather than the people
Right.
behind those services. the people
In
that are
Meridian, that's
presented.
tricky, right, because there's a bit of like privacy, I believe,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So that's,
So there is
yeah.
a lot of HIPAA and stuff you have to consider, but just something we talked about even before this, so this came at a great time, is trying to gather more testimonials to tell those stories of what does whole person health actually look like. And a person who, you know, we see for mental services as well as they go and get their regular checkups by our MD, you know, just how to tell that story. And so we talked about maybe our first step would be figuring out how to gather those testimonials and be HIPAA compliant. And because we do serve like all of Indiana, and so there's so much that we do, it can be a little overwhelming to pinpoint where to start. But I feel like that's kind of where we landed is, okay, let's create a formal system of, okay, we have the testimonial, just these are the pieces we need to support it.
I love it. Yeah, an intention to take action on the collection phase, and we'll talk at the end. Kind of, again, we'll touch back into compile and connect. Cool. Okay, you all.
Hi, so I am
Hello.
Lily Wade. I work at Emma's Auditorium, which is in the College of Fine Arts, where me and my colleague work at Ball State University.
For sure.
So, so we were kind of talking about how like our main goal is always telling stories to sell tickets. And so we were looking at like the story audit mostly because we both feel like we have like, you know, so much story copy that we look at that it can feel stale, and really focusing on selling our venues and our brand as like a way to connect with people instead of just like pushing show after show after show. And so that's where we really want to put our efforts, and I really thought I'd bring.
I love that. Yeah, like an overarching, and that's where like to go back to maybe the group in the back, the like identifying key events in your history doesn't necessarily apply, but like a overarching brand story, like thinking about like, you know, when was Evans last updated, you know, and things like that. So I feel like it was very recently, wasn't it?
A little bit.
I was gonna have a shoot there this past summer, but then we didn't go there because of construction. But anyways, yes, I love that. I'm gonna have this last group and then we'll dive into the rest of our slides.
Well, we'll go quick. We were just, we just went through a rebranding process with our company where we're bringing a new solution that's technology driven to the market. And so just kind of identifying where we fit in and making sure that we continuously focus on those we're trying to serve. And again, using the testimonials to kind of share that story as we prepare the live go-to-market strategy that we have in our handbag.
And something I think like is not on here is like who are your competitors who also offers a similar service, right? But to go back to like what I, as a human and as a human who has a business, like a deep value, you know, is that everyone's story matters, right? And so therefore, how you serve your clients with your service, even though there's other people who do that, they're not you. They're not you. And so like having you at the forefront does kind of it's a different service because you're a different human and you have different humans on your team as versus like, you know, the other folks that do the same service as you. So cool. Onward we go, team. Also, great job, everybody. You shared and you talked, and I'm so proud of you. Okay, quick clap. Cool. Okay, so we're gonna do this one real quick because we are close to time, and I still have lots of slides. So why are we mapping it out? I think y'all know at this point, knowing what you want to collect ahead of time is really important. You may have a big event coming up, you know, in October that you're like, oh, I really want to have some visuals for that. What do I need to do to make sure that those visuals are captured? You know, maybe on a personal brand note, you're like, okay, last time I got my headshot, I was 26. Maybe we should update that. Not speaking from experience. And you know, if you want to put your best face forward, like, and your real current face forward, that's something to map out as well. So what I'm gonna have y'all do is take a little bit of time to put 3 events on this calendar that you see potentially being something great to collect for in the coming weeks. For example, I know that I'm moving back on my boat in April, May-ish, and I want to like re-up the YouTube stories with that. So I know that that's going to be like a time and leading up to it, like what's my mapping on that, and then okay, and I want to launch my course on storytelling in September. So I like, what do I need to start collecting for that kind of thing? So that's an example. If you need any help, raise your hand, and I would be glad to come help you out. But yeah, pick 3. That feels like a good number. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves in the next. I'm going to give you 2 minutes because we're getting cute about it on time. Okay, I'm going to bring you all back a little early. This obviously is your paper to take home with you, so you can add more things later. As long as you got one on there, I think that's beautiful. And we'll just jump to the next thing. So where do we go from here? So you know how to collect all the stuff, right? You have decided like what might you want to feature this year in your story. And then we go from there to the compile and connect stages, which is the organizing and curating of the collected material, sculpting your story, and then of course you have to actually share it with the people. I was going to dive into this deeper, but I think you all know that there's so many platforms on the internet / in the world. I do believe like face-to-face lunches and coffees are also considered platforms, right? Flyers, never mad about a flyer, things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to get yourself out there. So don't be shy, even if you're just like, hey, I'm going to tell somebody I've got a coffee meeting tomorrow and I'm going to tell them about this thing that we've got going on in October kind of thing. So I want to give the example of, no, I don't. I don't want to give that example. Does that all feel good? Cool. Get ready, because we are going to, one by one, do quick, immediate actions. But before that, we're going to take a quick 5-minute coffee break. I like coffee and I like taking photos of my coffee. Sometimes I drink tea and cocoa. So we'll take a quick break. You can grab yourself more coffee, you can just sit in your chair, live your life. This is your 5 minutes, and we're gonna come back with Q&As and our immediate actions. Yay, thank you everyone.